Hi YouTube, AC Dodd here, and I've got something a little bit special for you this time. I was invited down to Moggyfest at the Beaulieu Motor Museum this weekend, so I went down on the Sunday, and what I've got in this video is the result of an interview I did with Steph from iDrive Classic. She invited me down especially to do this interview and meet a few people, which was fantastic. Paul Fish was also there from AdoRestoration, and I'm indebted to both of those because Steph obviously allowed me to put this video together, and Paul Fish very kindly did the camera operating to capture the footage. So without those two, this video wouldn't have happened. So I really appreciate that, and obviously I also appreciate the all the Morris Minor owners down there for allowing me to give them a little bit of my knowledge while I was there, which is fantastic. So one quick thing, this is a fantastic venue at Beaulieu Motor Museum, and a fantastic opportunity for Morris Minor owners to get together, their club event, etc. And obviously there was also a great big auto jumble on as well, so it was a fantastic weekend. Anyway, without further ado, let's crack on.
Hello everybody. Right, so first of all, listen up if you like saving money, because today is the ultimate in how to save money and get the most out of your Morris Minor. Now, I met this incredible man, AC Dodd, through the world of YouTube. He was doing all these videos, and all my customers at work were sending them to me, and they're saying, Steph, you need to watch this man. And if I'm completely honest with you, I thought, it kind of seems cool, but is it actually worth the money, and is it actually worth the time? And so then what I did was, one of our customers said, can you please do a day where we do some AC Dodd tuning? And we decided to go down the route of getting our team on the tuning process, and it's all been very exciting. So much so that I drove here, and a lot of people have this misconception, as I'm sure we all know from our well-meaning neighbours and family, that Morris Minors will only do 50 miles an hour with a 1098, and they're wheezing up a hill and they're barely making it up the side of wherever. And then it just builds this idea that the Morris Minor is a slow, doddery old car. Nowadays, now that AC's worked his magic on my car, not only can I get well above 70 miles an hour, but on my journey to Moggyfest, I did a good 70 for pretty much the entire journey, and I achieved 47 miles per gallon, and it's down to this man. Adrian, how have you got into the world of SU carb tuning? Talk to us.
Well, that's a big question. I started off fiddling with SU carburetors when I was about 14 or 15. I started off with lawnmowers with my dad, that's how it goes. And then before you know it, you turn 16 and you think, I need a car. So I bought a car when I was 16, obviously couldn't drive it, and then once I got to be able to drive, my little, it was a 26,000 mile Mini Mayfair, nice little Nautilus blue one, very nice car, and it was slow, and I thought, there's got to be more fun here, and I didn't have any money. I was an apprentice at the time, so I wasn't able to afford to go to the tuner to make it go fast. I didn't want to have a problem with insurance and all the rest of it by having a modified engine. So being an apprentice mechanical engineer, I had access to a machine shop, fully equipped machine shop, and I had a Mini, and a passion to want to make it go better. So I just started tinkering, and before you know it, I ended up making cars go faster for me and my friends, and then people start wanting to give you money, and then you end up sitting at Moggyfest with Steph, telling people, that they could actually benefit here, and you can make a real difference with your own cars.
Now, for those of us out there that like to get a bit handy at home, what do you think the biggest mistakes are that people are making when they go at it alone?
Really, the big issue.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Dodds. Can I give you a microphone, because I'm noticing that you're
Certainly.
passing between pillar and post, so it'll make things easier for you.
Thank you. The biggest mistake that people make is not understanding how their car works, and they read books, and they unfortunately they use
social media, and whilst that is excellent in certain circumstances, it isn't in terms of the real knowledge that makes these cars run properly. So they end up doing the practice of what I call screw turning, which is we just wind the mixture nut up to make the car go better, and then unfortunately end up with washed out piston rings, scored cylinder bores, and a very expensive rebuild for an oil burning engine. So really what you need to do is either realise that you need to get some sort of training or a better understanding of how it works, or come along to one of my tuners, for example, because I don't just do this tuning, I also train other mechanics to be able to do it as well. Paul, for example, at AdoRestoration has been trained by myself, and we are available out there to make these cars run a lot better.
I guess one of the questions that we've already been asked actually by Roger, because Roger said, oh, you set the cat amongst the pigeons because you're a hole driller. So for those of us that don't know about your hole drilling skills, tell us what it is and why you're doing it.
Okay, so yeah, I understand that in the Morris mining community, drilling holes in airboxes can be quite contentious, so I need to be careful. So what that basically is a realisation that the manufacturers, when they make these vehicles, aren't interested in performance. They're interested in making that car run reliably for a very long time and no warranty claims. So a lot of the performance that is actually locked up within an engine is strangled by the manufacturer themselves by reducing the airflow that the engine can actually consume. And obviously if you reduce the airflow, ergo you reduce the power output potential of that engine. So the idea about drilling holes in airboxes is to increase the total airflow that that engine can consume. And obviously if you then recalibrate the fueling for that increased airflow to match in the appropriate proportions, you end up increasing the engine performance better. And not only that, it doesn't have to work as hard to actually fill its cylinders. Therefore you get an increase in economy as well as performance.
I think that's a good answer. Now, if I was driving along, say, with an 803 or a 948 engine, and I said to you, well, look, it's really slow, I'm not going to be able to get anything out of it, what could you promise people, or what could you achieve with those engines, do you think?
The 948 engine is obviously a small engine, but you shouldn't really sort of write it off just because it is small. We all know that if you make an engine bigger, it goes better, right? That's basic physics. But when it comes to actually optimising an engine, doesn't matter what size it is, what you really need to do is to make sure that you're burning everything that you put in the cylinder. And this is where a lot of classic car owners go wrong. There's fuel going in the cylinder, but they're not burning it efficiently. They're not using all of that and turning it into forward motion. So really what it comes down to is making sure your ignition system is optimised, you've got a nice bright spark, you're igniting that spark at the right time, and most importantly, the mixture that's going in the cylinder is in the appropriate proportions for the combustion that's happening at that time. So what I mean by that is if you're cruising, it needs to be a controlled lean mixture which burns nicely and efficiently, or if you're accelerating hard, it needs to be an appropriately full power rich mixture so you don't damage the engine.
There's a lot of tech there. I'm going to bring it back to the basics for a second, and we're going to talk about coils. Put your hand up if you yourself have been let down by a coil or know someone in your branch who has. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of different people out there nodding, sticking hands up, laughing. And you know what it is because nowadays we all race to the bottom. What's the cheapest? What am I just going to chuck in the trolley and get? What have they got on Amazon? What's, the budget option? Adrian, what do you think people should be going for in terms of coils? Because you yourself said to me that the coil is the first place that you start with these cars.
That's a good point. So whenever you're looking at tuning an engine, the first place you start is the ignition system, and the coil is king. So what I mean by that is the spark energy is the most important thing to get that engine running properly. The problem we have nowadays is a lot of ignition coils are made cheaply, poorly, and they are not reliable. So when I started setting up my service of on-the-road tuning that I do, some of you out there may have seen the videos, I had to quickly find out the suppliers that I could use the components so that I wouldn't get complaints and have to go back to owners after I've been there because they're complaining about failed parts. So I quickly realised that I use PowerSpark as my main supplier of ignition components, and I have very good success with their components. That's not my total use. The other one is mini spares, and between those two suppliers I find I get great success with ignition components. And one of the other most important ones, as well as the coil, is for those who are running points ignition, is to use the distributor doctor condensers, which are in my experience 100% reliable.
Do you think it matters in terms of the tuning process and getting the most out of your car, whether you're still on points or whether you're on electronic ignition?
That's a really good question, because an engine will run perfectly well on points ignition, but there is a fundamental difference, and that is the ignition power that you can run with electronic setup. So what I mean by that is, if you have a 3 ohm basic coil that runs with points, if you then change that to a 0.8 ohm coil, which has got a lot more power, you will end up being able to run a leaner mixture through your engine. Now, you might think, well, maybe I don't want that, but the reality is, if you run the highest power coil setup that you can run on an engine, you can run that engine leaner. Now, through its lifetime, that means you will have less piston and ring wear, your engine will last longer, and you won't have to do so many rebuilds. It will use less oil, it will keep the oil cleaner, and that's all because of the coil choice.
Now I'm seeing a lot of people nodding, questioning things out there. Has anyone got any questions for Adrian? Even basic stuff. I'm going to throw it out to the audience. Paul, what's your biggest learning that you got from doing Adrian's tuning course?
I think, obviously I've worked on these cars for years.
I apologise, we're losing sound.
I'm coming out
on,
to you there.
Mr. Dodd's
Tell us, Paul, what's the
I think we're okay.
what's the biggest learning, Paul, you had from doing Adrian's course?
I think that obviously I've been sort of involved with cars for so long. You kind of have an idea, but you can't necessarily rationalise all of the theory in your head whilst trying to run a business and work on cars at the same time. And actually that coil, getting the power in the ignition system did instantly resonate with me, because it's like you instantly realise that your theory was right, but you just didn't know how to achieve it. So to run them lean, to stop the engine bore washing, or to extend the life of the engine, is really, I would do it to everybody's car if they wanted to spend the money on it, because it makes such a massive difference. And your car, has the Lumination, the old Optronic system on it, and we checked the dwell on that, and that's only, it's something like 65 degrees of dwell on it. So you're running a 3 ohm coil, so you could benefit even further by going to a more higher powered ignition system, and it wouldn't be an expensive option for a lot of owners. And then you can tune in the economy and the power that you're missing out on. And I think it was brilliant what we achieved by learning from Adrian. It was a real difference it's made.
Thanks, Paul. Now, I think we all love talking about money and what things cost. And as somebody at the Charles Wares Morris Minor Centre once said to me, Morris Minor owners are famously tight. And I think we can all concur that we all like saving a few quid. So, Adrian, what is this going to cost somebody to get the car tuned up? Because that's always the first question.
Okay, so that's a bigger question than you might think, because it depends where you are, how you're going to get that tuning happening. So if you're mobile and you want a mobile tune, beg your pardon from me, if you're the other end of the country, then unfortunately it's going to cost you the time it takes me to drive from where I am to the other end of the country, the hotel bills, the food and everything else. That's a very expensive tune-up. But if you come to a show where I'm at, for example, I just did the Riviera run a couple of weeks ago for the Cornish Mini Club, and I spent 3 days tuning in a field, and I was tuning, each car could enter the tent for £75 a car. They get half an hour to 45 minutes of my time. We can go through, set the timing, make sure that the plug gaps are right, and we can also do some needle modifications to make the engines run properly. Clearly 30 to 45 minutes doesn't leave much time, but the idea there is that owners can bring their cars in and at least either get them checked out, get them diagnosed, or if they're a bit more diligent with their maintenance, they've already got the right spark plugs fitted, then all I need to do when they're in there is to set the timing, make sure things are optimised, and then I can hand make them a needle to make that engine fuel properly.
Brilliant. Right, well I think we're coming to the end of our talk now. Adrian, is there any other advice that you can give to people today that when they're in the garage next weekend, or perhaps before they set off for Moggyfest, which is happening next week, is there anything you say, right, here's some quick wins that you can achieve in like an hour or two at home, just doing your own thing in the garage?
Certainly, when it comes to Morris minors, especially if you've got points ignition, is make sure your dwell angle's right, so that's the points gap. If you're using feeler blades to check your points, you need to move on. Time's moved on, dwell meter is the way to do that, to get them absolutely perfect. Set your ignition timing, and I don't mean just at idle. Have a look at the ignition timing across the advance curve on the distributor, so that's across the rev range, to make sure that you're getting the ignition advance that you need. If you don't know what those figures are, then there are a number of ways that you can contact me or my tuners, or even Paul over there at AdoRestoration, and then we will be able to help you with the numbers. And most importantly, you have to realise if you don't have the equipment, you can't get these cars running perfectly unless you can understand and measure the fueling. A lot of mistakes are made by people assuming, you know, I've always done it that way, we'll just turn the mixture screw, this, that and the other. You only know what's happening at idle, you don't know what's happening across the rev range, and the fueling doesn't act the way you think it does or the way you want it to when it comes to an SU carburetor and turning the mixture screw. So the most important thing to understand is there are limits of what you can do at home unless you have the appropriate equipment.
Well, there we go then. So Adrian, are you going to stick around for a little bit so people can ask some questions?
I'm around here for the rest of the day, so if anybody wants to come up and have a chat, talk about their car or talk about tuning or anything about the A series or SU carburetors, I'm here for that conversation.
Brilliant. Well, I think we're going to get Adrian having a look at one of the cars in the tent actually. Maybe not necessarily working on it, but it's a little bit different, isn't it? The oil, God, the words have gone out of my head now, the
Oil bath air.
oil bath air filter, there we go. So we're going to be having a look at that because it's a little bit different, and I wanted to know how it works, so selfishly that's the one I've clicked for him to have a look at. So if you want to kind of ask Adrian some questions while he's got a head under the bonnet, he's really generous with his time, he's really generous with his knowledge, make full use of it. Adrian, if people are feeling a little bit shy and maybe don't want to approach you today, which is totally understandable, even though you are really friendly, how can they find your videos online and teach themselves more in the comfort of their own home?
That one's very straightforward. You basically just need to go onto Google or YouTube and you just type in AC Dodd and you will get inundated with, you know, millions of hits of my videos or all my content on social media. So yeah, you don't have to look hard.
Brilliant. And remember that Adrian is only a local man. He's only in Wiltshire, so if you are local, keep him in mind. And he's really great for things like if you want to do a branch day. We're doing a day at work where we've booked slots all day so everybody can get their, well, we've got 3 days back to back where people can get their cars tuned and sort it all out and get them all running properly. If you are in a branch and you're thinking, blimey, there's a lot of cars that I've heard popping and banging over the last 6 months, and you think actually a day with AC would be a really marvellous thing for our branch to do, come and have a chat with him. It's a really great way to do it. And I guess that's where we finish up. So it's AC Dodd, A for Alpha, C for Charlie, D for Delta, O for Oscar, and then 2 Ds at the end. And you can just type in SU afterwards and find him really easily. So I'd like to kick off a big round of applause because Adrian's come down specially today for us all.
So I really hope you enjoyed that. I'd just like to say thank you to Steph again for getting me down to Moggyfest. That was fantastic. You also got the opportunity to listen to Paul Fish talking there about his experience with the training that I did with him up at AdoRestoration earlier this year. So all that remains to say is, as usual, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you soon on the next one. Thank you very much.